Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have a bunch of different news to get to today, things that you may have missed that happened over the past week. So I'm just going to throw them all into the same segment. So hopefully you enjoy this format. Let me know in the comments below. An appeals panel made a horrific ruling last Friday. They overturned decades of precedent in the United States. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, this is down in New Orleans, they ruled 2-1 that Donald Trump's administration has the right to detain immigrants without bail. So here's one of the articles here. This decision overruled two lower courts, and with a Reagan appointee on this appeals panel writing in his opinion, quote, "The text of the IRA says what it says, regardless of the decisions of prior administrations. That prior administrations decided to use less than their full enforcement authority does not mean they lacked the authority to do more." There was the one dissenting judge on this panel, though, Biden appointee, and he wrote this. He very much clarified why these other judges are completely wrong. He said, quote, "The Congress that passed IRA would be surprised to learn it had also required the detention without bond of 2 million people. For almost 30 years, there was no sign anyone thought it had done so, and nothing in the congressional record or the history of the statute's enforcement suggests that it did. Nonetheless, the government today asserts the authority and mandate to detain millions of non-citizens in the interior, some of them present here for decades, on the same terms as if they were apprehended at the border. No matter that this newly discovered mandate arrives without historical precedent and in the teeth of one of the core distinctions of immigration law. The overwhelming majority elsewhere have recognized that the government's position is totally unsupported." So understand, this will trickle down to and affect U.S. citizens, because not only will the Trump regime be allowed to snatch up U.S. citizens, legal residents, and immigrants off the street without a warrant, and just disappear them without due process, as they've been doing for the past year. They have now been granted the authority to hold these people without bond. So the fact that we are seeing U.S. citizens being dragged into this, and legal immigrants, legal residents, people here with green cards or people who have other legal status, they are also being roped in, with this dragnet and picked up. So now everyone can be held without bond, and the government will just use the excuse that, well, we didn't know. We didn't know that they were U.S. citizens. We thought they were here illegally, and so that's why we held them without bond. So when that happens, don't say you weren't warned. This is what we're going to be seeing. In more horrific Trump administration news, Senator Bernie Sanders revealed just how much funding Donald Trump has cut from medical research. So this is an article here that talks about it. This is an article that was published in the New Republic, and it states that, quote, "Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, the ranking member of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, found that the NIH had gutted $561 million in funding for research on cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's disease. Despite research on these illnesses being fully funded by Congress, the Trump administration has chosen to terminate at least 320 grants mid-study and abandon thousands of patients across 304 clinical trials, including 69 trials for children. In addition to destroying years of work, the administration's actions have prompted an entire generation of medical researchers to question the viability of building a career in the United States. Needless to say, this is completely cruel. It also doesn't align with the administration's so-called Make America Healthy promise. And this will set our country back possibly for decades if researchers decide to take their skills elsewhere. Of course, the worst part, though, is the cruelty. It's the amount of lives that will be lost. And in fact, the Guardian news outlet had published an article just last month, and here it is here. It details how Trump's funding cuts are killing American children. Their last hope was these clinical trials that were being funded by the government. It is absolutely unconscionable that our country is going to allow these children to die a painful death, also we can give more tax breaks to the wealthy. But that's where we're at. Next up, I have news out of Texas. So MAGA Attorney General Ken Paxton is doing something that just defies reason. He is investigating an anti-fascist group for exposing the identity of a white supremacist who is actually affiliated with a literal neo-Nazi organization. This neo-Nazi organization is pretty well known here in the United States. It's called the Goyim Defense League. So here is that article, or one of the articles about this. The Goyim Defense League is described by various sites as a network of individuals who promote anti-Semitism and white supremacist themes. And their stated goal is to remove Jewish people from the United States. And more recently, they were accused of distributing anti-Semitic and transphobic propaganda. They were handing out leaflets to Texans. But Paxton is making them out to be the victim. He issued a statement saying, quote, "I'm taking legal action against a Houston-based Antifa organization engaged in doxing and the commission of terrorism. These deranged traitors will face the full force of law. No stone will be left unturned, and no tool will be left unused." So up is down, left is right now in America. I mean, this obviously flies in the face of, again, one of Trump's stated goals, which was to supposedly root out anti-Semitism in America. And then you have to wonder which side Laura Loomer is going to take on this fight, because she hates the left, but here we have one of her own MAGA allies protecting literal neo-Nazis who want to rid the U.S. of Jewish people. I do have some good news to share, though, today. The United Auto Workers scored a victory in Ruby Red, Tennessee. So here's an article about that. Axios had reported that workers at Volkswagen's Chattanooga, Tennessee factory won 20% raises and lower healthcare costs in their first UAW contract after nearly 2 years of bargaining. The agreement is being billed as a historic breakthrough in the UAW's decades-long effort to unionize foreign-owned auto plants in the South. So people thought this couldn't happen down in the southern states, but it actually has now. And they went on to say that the 20% wage increase will be spread out over 4 years. That is in addition to the 11% increase that they had secured, these Volkswagen workers had secured in 2023. So that is it for now. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.